that isn't this just being pushy? Am I just like needlessly pushing my own agenda on someone, on something, on you? And if someone receives it as such, as me just like pushing my agenda on them, does that actually drive them farther away from Jesus rather than do the thing that I'm hoping to do, which is draw them close? Yeah. Like that's the first kind of thought as to like when you're running through the, like, I feel like I want to talk to this person about Jesus. That's, at least in my mind, that's like one of the first things that comes up.
Yeah. It's like fear that it will push them away.
Yeah. Or it's going to be seen as me being overly aggressive or whatever. So
that makes me think about like, okay, if that's true, if sharing our faith and sharing the gospel with someone is...
if you are hearing this online right now, there is construction and building.
Just live in real time.
Just so you know.
Or a dinosaur upstairs. Can't tell the difference.
That's what it sounds like. It's really hardcore.
It's better than it was the other day. So if sharing your faith with someone is being too pushy or pushing someone away, the alternative would be to not ever share that. Right. And I think playing that kind of thought out is helpful for me when I think, okay, if this feels restless in some way and gives me anxiety of thinking, I don't want someone to feel pressured, I don't want someone to feel overwhelmed. Okay, then the alternative would be to not do that and to simply just live my life and exist and hope that someday someone will magically figure out like that I'm a Christian or something. And I think that's actually helpful to kind of balance it out and think in some way, shape, or form, like we gotta at least like let people in on what we claim to be the most important thing of our lives and the thing that kind of guides our decisions and actions and motivation and all of that. And there's got to be a way to do that without it being pushy.
Well, and I think the thing that we tend to do, or that we've tended to do, is like share the gospel at all times and when necessary use words.
Yeah,
like,
I was just thinking that.
Like it's like
people overquote like Francis of Assisi.
Yes. It's like this notion that in order to share the gospel, all you have to do is live like you have to live like Jesus, and your actions can exemplify that. And then that almost like, in a way, it's almost gone to the other end of like, well, then I never share it with words. Because one, it could be too pushy, like you were saying, Garrett, or it could just be uncomfortable, or it's more difficult to do something like that. And so because it's easier to just kind of tell ourselves, oh yeah, I'm doing it with how I live. But the reality is a lot of times we're not doing it with how we live, and it's not actually showing anyone the gospel, and we're not acting that different than anyone else. And so it is this like tension of like, I think that sometimes I think that's a super real thing that, share the gospel and how we act and how we live. But sometimes I think we use that as an excuse to not do it at all.
Sure.
Because of the very reasons you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's an invitation. Like you are sharing something that someone else on the receiving end gets to decide whether they want to like accept and follow and like live in the same way. It's not this, I think we get to share the gospel in such a way that invites people rather than like enforces people or makes people feel like trapped.
Right.
And I think that's helpful, that like if someone feels like that you're pushing your faith on them, then maybe it is in how we're delivering it.
Totally.
And so I think like presenting this as simply sharing your experience and sharing an invitation can help people respond and receive it differently.
Right. Because I think there is a particular vision that's being uncovered in like at least my own insecurity around that, which is I've seen the gospel shared in a particular way, and it is pushy, and it does push people away.
Right.
And it totally sucks.
Right.
You know, like, so I feel like that's part of the equation, that the model is what I hear you saying, kind of Molly, like the model by which that we've shown people how to share the gospel, or we've told people this is what it means to share the gospel, is going to be damaging and is going to be pushing people away.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Like the helpful thing about asking this question is that sometimes we are pushing people away.
Right.
Yes. We are, I mean, like this whole conversation is about, we are either being hypocritical or we are being weird. And so in a way, it's a really helpful question, like not to the point that it should stop us from trying or from figuring out what is actually a helpful and seamless way to talk about the thing that is, like Molly's saying, the most important thing in our life.
Right.
But it is a good question to ask yourself.
Right.